In this meditation today, we're going to focus on one of the primary forms of meditation or types, which is stabilizing meditation, or you might think of it more as settling the attention. Um, let's imagine that our attention or our localized awareness is normally like a ball in a pinball machine. And you know, in a pinball machine, how the ball just bounces dong, 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 dong all over the place from lights flashing and sounds going off. That's what our attention is like during most of our day. Um, our attention or our localized awareness will just attach to and bounce between one thought after another. It will go from a thought to a worry to a plan about later to a memory about something that happened before. But all of those things are actually just thoughts. Memories are just thoughts about thoughts that have already happened. Planning for the future is just thoughts about things that might happen. And it seems that those sorts of behaviors, that sort of pattern of thinking and bouncing our attention around, is really quite exhausting. We get to the end of our day and we feel pretty frazzled, stressed, and anxious. So, the purpose of this practice is that we're just going to find an anchor for that attention, and we're going to learn to pin our attention on one thing so that it doesn't ping all over the place. Now, there are plenty of other practices. This isn't just what meditation is about, but this is a really useful skill to learn, so that we can move on to slightly more progressive ideas later. But for now, if we can just control our attention, things are going to get a lot easier. And as a side effect, we will feel a lot calmer and probably a lot more happy in our day. So I'm going to invite you just to join me in this one. I'm going to use the breath as the focus for our attention. And I often call these focuses anchors because, like a little boat, if you don't drop an anchor down, it will just float away. And like we know from our daily life, um, we might float off somewhere really nice and have a sort of a really pleasant day for some reason we can't explain, or we might float off and end up going over the Niagara Falls and turns out to be a really terrible day. So if we don't put an anchor down, we've got no control whatsoever about where our attention goes and where our energy goes during each day. So in this practice, we're going to use the breath as an anchor. A lot of people can feel anxious when they focus on the breath. So if you're one of those people, please just focus more on the sound of your breathing. Rather than thinking it of actual breath moving in and out, just let the anchor at the start anyway be the sound of your breath. I'm going to include some really interesting visualizations that you have probably never used before, um, and hopefully they will help to really stabilize your concentration. But they will come a little bit later in this practice. But to start, we're just going to get ourselves comfortable. So sitting, lying down. If you're lying down, it's better to prop yourself up a little bit so that you're less likely to fall asleep. You can sit in a chair, you can kneel. Just get yourself comfy so you don't have to worry about that. And then the next thing we're going to do is just decide whether we want our eyes open or closed. Now, some people always close their eyes. Few people always open their eyes, but what you might actually find is that your mind just naturally seems calmer at this moment with eyes open or closed. And you can always explore that during the practice as well. So, first thing we're going to do is just to take 5 complete breaths. So counting 5 breaths, and we count down from 5 to 0. If we count upwards, then we'll just go into autopilot and we'll be counting up to thousands. So count down from 5 to 0 and see if you can track your attention for those 5 breaths. Can you just stay focused on your breathing or the sound of your breathing for 5 complete breaths? If you're anything like me, you're going to find that really challenging. You'll probably get to 4 and realize you're thinking about something totally different. That's not a problem. All you need to do is notice that that has happened. Notice that your attention has become stuck to something, and then just go back to 5 and start again. If you get all the way down to 0 by some miracle, then just go back to 5 and start again. So this practice isn't just about making it from 5 to 0, it's all about learning to observe our attention and know where our attention is at any moment. Because we tend to just daydream our way through life. We don't really know what's going on. We're just living inside our head with no real awareness of what is actually happening in there. Now, every time you breathe in, see if you can feel like you're bringing some spaciousness into your body. You might imagine that as your body just expanding slightly. And then as you exhale, just let go of the breath and let any tension that you are holding in your shoulders, your jaw, your back, your belly, these are common areas, just let that go along with the out breath. You'll only let go of as much tension as you feel able to. So the in breath feels like it creates some space, some expansion. The out breath feels like we just let go of anything that we're holding in the body that we don't need to be holding. And if at any point during this practice you feel uncomfortable, like internally or externally, you can just stop whenever. Have a stretch, open your eyes, and so on. So you're still counting 5 to 0 for now, but now you've added in just letting go of tension in the body, finding some connection to the sensations that you're feeling. And the next thing that we're going to add is a visualization. So some people are really great at visualizing things. Some people find it more difficult. If you find it difficult to visualize images in your head, that's not a problem. Just think of more the idea or the concept than an actual picture or an image, if that helps. So we're going to imagine that there's a straight railway track right in front of us. And this railway track is extending off into the distance towards, let's imagine that the sun is rising somewhere on that horizon where the track is heading towards. Now on this railway track, there's a small little cart, if you like, not a shopping cart or a shopping trolley, but like a wooden cart with 4 wheels on it that fit just onto the railway track. And imagine now that on top of that cart there's like a little sail like you'd find on a sailing boat. So you've got this lovely little rinky-dink cart with wheels and a sail, and it's sitting on top of these railway tracks heading off into the distance. And far away on the horizon, the sun is just starting to rise. Now, every time that you exhale, imagine that you are blowing wind into those sails. And as you blow wind into those sails, that little cart moves forwards along the track. You can do that with the counted breath if you want to do cycles of 5, or you can just let go of the count and just focus on the image or the idea of this little trailer or this little cart just being blown forwards by your breath. Every time you breathe in, it takes a little pause, or maybe in your mind it just carries on rolling slowly. But you're tying your attention or your localized awareness to this idea of the cart being blown forwards, dead straight along these tracks by your breath. And these tracks represent your attention. Now, what often happens is for a short while our attention stays fixed on our anchor or on the point of our focus, but then soon we find that it wanders off. And in this case, we could imagine that it notices something off to the side of the track that's interesting, maybe a thought about something it needs to do, or an idea, or churning over something we haven't done or something we said. And we might find that our little cart or our trolley takes a little deviation to the left or the right. It goes off down a side line or a side track and becomes sort of interested in this other thought or this other idea or this itch on our back or the odd sound that we can hear outside the room. And our attention gets sucked off towards this new object or experience. That's not a problem at all. That's the normal habit that we're in. We're not very well practiced at keeping our attention focused and steady. So all we need to do is not get frustrated, not get irritated. Just notice that your attention has wandered. And as soon as you notice, your next out breath is just going to blow your little trolley back onto the main track that's going towards that sunrise. And you may find that your little trolley gets distracted very often. Maybe every other breath you realize that it's gone off on a side track, started following a different path. And for a while you won't even be aware that has happened. But as soon as you notice, make sure that on your next slow, relaxed exhale, you feel the sails and your little trolley or your little cart trundles back onto the main track. And we can still be focusing on the sound of the breath. In between blowing the air into the sails, you can even follow the breath in through the nose, past the back of the throat, down inside the neck, into the lungs. And we can follow it on its journey back out. Whatever helps us to stay attentive to this one thing is all that matters. The techniques aren't important. Different techniques will work for different people. So always feel free to adapt it and adjust it to find a way that fits you really well. Now there's a tendency to become frustrated or irritated because we think, oh, I'm not good at this, I keep getting distracted, and so on. That's just new thinking. That's nothing else than new thoughts, just like any other thought. Don't believe in your thoughts. And so certainly don't believe in these ones that tell you you're no good at this. You shouldn't be doing this. This is called a practice because we're practicing. We're practicing becoming more skilled at it. It's not called a perfection. If we were already perfect at this, we wouldn't need to be practicing. We don't go to our first ever piano lesson and expect to be playing Mozart. That's not how it works. We understand that that might take years. And this is no different. So don't be discouraged. If you're finding it challenging, that's exciting. It means that we can see progression. We can see that we've got work to do. That's great to have that awareness. All we need to do is learn to see as soon as possible when our attention or our local awareness has wandered and become stuck on something else, when our little train, trolley or cart has deviated off of the track. We can become quite tuned into this because when our attention wanders, we can also feel it in the body or inside the head somehow. It feels as if we're being stretched out towards something or pulled away from our center. It can feel like a sense of mild irritation or an agitation. And it definitely involves some degree of effort. There's definitely some effort involved in following new distractions. So as soon as you notice that this effort is there, or this distraction's there, or this irritation's there, or this feeling of being stretched or pulled towards something is there, you know that you have lost focus. And as soon as you know it, you're awake again, you're aware again, and you can come directly back to your focus of the breath, following the sound of the breath, visualizing the train tracks, the sunset, and breathing into the sails of your little train cart. Whatever one of those works for you, or a combination of all of those techniques. So we know that it's just natural and normal to become distracted. All that we have to do is come back to our practice over and again. Now you can rest and stay with this practice for as long as you want. As a side effect of becoming better at it, you'll just notice that you feel more grounded, you feel more peaceful, and when we feel more peaceful, you could say we feel happier, more content. So just return to it as many times in the day as you need to. I'm posting lots of other techniques for this and then further meditation practices as well. So check those out and you will probably find something else that works or maybe works better for you. When you feel like you're ready to finish the practice, just let 5 breaths come into the body, but this time count upwards from 0 to 5. And each breath is going to become a little bit more awake, a little bit more active. Feel that breath moving down to your hands, your feet, fingers and toes, your head, waking you up. Bringing a gentle wiggle to your fingers and toes, feeling your body moving again. You might take a big stretch and a yawn, or rub your hands together, rub your face, whatever works. And whenever you're ready, just opening your eyes, feeling completely centered, grounded, and refreshed, hopefully. And if not, that's fine too. We've got a lifetime to practice this. I hope that was useful, and I'll see you in another session.